Zach Laws of Gold Derby here with Terence Blanchard. He's the composer of the new film Harriet. And Terence, this movie is so important for so many different reasons. I mean, it's kind of surprising that we haven't had a big screen film of this kind about Harriet Tubman until now. So, I mean, for you, just talk a bit about the importance of this film overall and for you as a composer to work on it.
Well, obviously, in the times that we're living, man, it's extremely important to have this film be a part of the discussion in our country right now. I look at Harriet Tubman as being a superhero, a person of immense character. As a composer, I'm always amazed that my name is spoken in the same breath as hers, because she was such a huge figure in our history. From the time that I was a kid, I knew about Harriet Tubman. And getting a chance to work on this film is a huge honor. And to see what it's done for a lot of folks. I was just in St. Louis playing a gig with my band, and a woman came up to me in tears saying that she just saw the movie and it meant so much to her. And another person came up to me and told me that they saw the movie 3 times. When you're a part of something like that, man, words don't suffice. This goes well beyond the realm of just making movies. This is something that hopefully will be in the libraries for kids to watch and learn from for generations to come.
Certainly watching the movie, I thought to myself, this is the perfect film to show in history classes when you are covering this era. And, because it really does, it brings her story to life in such a vibrant and exciting way. You mentioned calling her a superhero, and this film is sort of like a real-life superhero movie. Mm-hmm. Did that influence the way that you approached the score?
Oh, definitely. I mean, initially, when I first started writing the music, one of the things that I had to really get past was my own bias, being a man. Here in my studio, man, I started to come up with some ideas of like tracking my voice, doing some rhythmic things. And when I put it up against the picture, it just didn't work because I was coming at it from the viewpoint of being a male. And I had to turn all of that off and look at this person as being a very strong-willed woman with a strong conviction of faith, and it really turned me around in terms of what I wanted to do with the film. I wanted to make sure that the music was powerful enough to exhibit her strength, but still melodic enough and still harmonic enough, to have certain types of harmonic passages that would show her compassion as a lover, because it seems like all of this started with her love for her husband and her family. And then there are moments and times, obviously, where we needed to show her conviction of her faith. It's fascinating to see it enacted on a screen, because people were trying to call this a slave movie, and I take exception to that because it's not a slave movie. It doesn't really deal with that. This is really about her being a heroine, a person who was actually, if you really want to look at it, she was a true patriot because she was dealing with the laws of the Almighty, and she allowed that to give her strength to persevere.
Yeah, I mean, you really do see that in this movie, and you're right. To call it a slave movie is it really degrades what the movie is, because it really is about strength and perseverance and American exceptionalism. Talking about all these different things, her showing her love and her empathy and her heroism. How did you find your way to be able to balance all those different things and make it sound like it was a part of the same score?
Well, it was a challenge. It was a challenge because at first I kept thinking about her strength, and I kept coming up with these strong harmonic passages that were a little too over the top. And I had to pull back on that. And it wasn't until Casey sent me a couple of scenes. She sent me the Walk to Freedom, and she sent me the where she's crossing the river, other enslaved people. Those moments really, really had an impact on me emotionally. Cynthia's performance is so riveting and so convincing that, I was in this room crying, man, just looking at it, thinking about how a person who had never allowed anyone else to define who she was, but was still enslaved, all of a sudden she's at a moment in her life when she can look across the field and see an area where she could just be who she is without any encumbrance from anyone else. That was a very powerful thing to experience. And I tried to make sure that the music was melodic enough and could swell enough to kind of show that emotional impact, because it's an overwhelming thing, when you think about it. We take all of these things for granted these days because we owe all of these people a debt of gratitude for allowing us to be in such a position. So for me, I wanted to make sure that I would reach back and try to create something that was just impactful as the moment you see, as you see it on the screen.
Did you look at music from the time as sort of an influence in any places?
No, not really, because growing up in Louisiana, I already had a little bit of that in my background. Growing up in the church, I had a strong sense of what spiritually based music is. So that's basically what I drew upon, to create those melodies. But I didn't want it to sound just like it was coming from the church, because I think that's a little too on the nose for some things like this. I wanted it to have a mixture of both things. Some of that spiritually based music as the bed, but to have some kind of universal melodic content that everybody could relate to.
Well, and I think also one of the great strengths of this movie is how modern it feels. Obviously, it does a very good job of capturing the period, but it doesn't create that sort of distance that many period pieces create. I mean, it feels so immediate. And I think that's a credit to the work by yourself and obviously Casey Lemons and Cynthia Erivo as well.
Well, we talked about that. Casey actually came here to my studio here in New Orleans, for Jazz Fest, and we sat right here, and we just kind of hashed it out and talked about it. We didn't want it to sound period. We didn't want it to sound old. We wanted it to be updated. We wanted it to be current. We wanted people to be able to relate to it. So, we weren't trying to ask people to come to us musically, at least. We were actually reaching out to them. At least that was my mindset of how I created the music, because the story is too important. Casey kept saying something, while we were working on the project. Her thing was, we're doing this for Harriet. And that's what she constantly said. We're doing this for Harriet. And that's literally what it became, to think that this woman lived into her 90s, lived a full, beautiful life, surrounded by her family in her later years. It's an amazing thing. To me, it's a powerful story. It's a story of triumph and success.
Yeah. Talk a bit more about Casey. You've worked with her several times, including on her very first movie, Eve's Bayou. What is that collaboration like, and how has it grown over the years and culminated to this?
Casey is my sister, man. We've grown really, really close. As a matter of fact, when I saw her son in the film, I was blown away because I remember when he was born. But working with her has been like a real joy because she's brilliant and very, very, very creative. She doesn't mind pushing the boundaries, and I love that about her. And while she's pushing those boundaries, she's helping me to expand as an artist as well. It's been great, man. You know, back when we did Talk to Me, you know, we've gone a lot of different directions. You've seen Eve's Bayou, Caveman's Valentine, and Talk to Me, and now you see this particular film. And all of those films, man, she has the ability to tell a story in a very concise manner. I never really feel like they're like wasted moments in any of her movies, and that's a credit to her storytelling abilities. You know, and she's game for a lot of things. You know, if I come up with an idea, she said, "Well, let's try it. Let's see how it works." You know, and then she'll be honest. She said, "Well, it's not working for me. Maybe we should go another direction." And that's been the way we've been working for the last since we've known each other. It's been that way.
I guess it must get easier over time. I mean, it's the same thing with Spike Lee, who you've worked with for almost 3 decades. I mean, I guess with every movie you do, it becomes easier to understand what that director wants at any given moment, you know?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, there are things that I would do for Casey that I probably wouldn't do for any other director just because of the vision that they have. And the same thing with Spike, you know, I love that. I love the fact that I have those relationships because they make me grow, you know, and a lot of people don't know this, but Casey wrote the libretto to my last opera, Fire Shut Up in My Bones, which is actually going to the New York Met. And we're very proud about that. In a couple of years, it'll be at the Metropolitan Opera in New York. And she did a beautiful job of writing the libretto.
I certainly look forward to seeing and hearing that when that finally comes out. A couple of other things while I still have you. You earned your first Oscar nomination earlier this year for Black Klansman. It's so crazy for me to say that was your first Oscar nomination, considering you've done so many great films and so many great scores. But, I mean, what did that recognition mean for you to finally be recognized in that way?
Well, it's an interesting feeling. It's a humbling one at one point, you know, because I literally didn't think it would ever happen, so I was kind of past it, you know, wasn't looking for it. But then when it did happen, the reaction to my family and my friends was probably the thing that gave me the most joy out of it all. The other thing too, man, that was really cool about it was meeting all of the other nominees. You know, during that run, you get a chance to hang out with a lot of people that you admire, and I got to become close with a few of those guys. As a matter of fact, I got a chance to meet Lady Gaga. We were sitting at the same table during the luncheon, and then we were at one of the dinners, and Herbie Hancock was there. And Herbie started playing. I had my horn. I started playing, and then Lady Gaga got up and sang. Next thing I knew, man, she invited me to do her show with her in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so just a couple of weeks ago, man, we were in Las Vegas doing a show with Lady Gaga, and all of that happened because of the Oscar nomination, man. You know, it was an amazing moment in time. You know, we had a lot of fun.
I have to imagine it was also very special to see Spike up there with an Oscar after all these years. You know, finally getting that recognition. You know,
I got to tell you, you know what was the most amazing moment, and it's not shown. It's during the Oscar luncheon with all of the nominees. So you know, everybody's mingling, everybody's talking, and then we finally settle down to start the program. And when they start calling the nominees up to take that, you know, that classic photo that they take, the first name they called was Spike. And when he got up on the podium, they didn't call another name for about 5 minutes. They just let him, he just stood there. They just let him stand there while people were applauding him and giving him a standing ovation. That warmed my heart, you know, because, I mean, listen, man, this guy is a very creative filmmaker, you know, and he's opened the door for a lot of people in the film industry, and he doesn't get a lot of credit for it. But seeing that moment was an amazing thing to witness.
And you guys are hard at work on your next movie, The Five Bloods, which is a Vietnam War epic. Can you tell us anything about what's going on with that one right now? What stage you're in?
Well, we've actually finished scoring. We may go back and do one more scene. He wanted to add some music to one scene, so we maybe go back and do something there. But we had a great time working on that thing. He did. I've been telling people, I said, he did it again. He did it again. He put together another great movie with some great actors, man. You know, Chadwick Boseman, Clark Peters, Delroy Lindo, Isaiah Whitlock. It's an incredible story. And one of the things about Spike that I've always admired, one of the things that he does better than most people, you know, he has this uncanny ability to tell you a very serious story and to make you feel that story. And then in the midst of telling you that, give you a lot of humor and release, you know. So it's kind of hard to classify what the movies are, you know, because they have all of these various elements in it. And he did it again with this one. It's a really good movie.
One of my favorite scores of yours is for Spike's other war epic, Miracle at St. Anna.
Oh, okay.
So I certainly look forward to hearing what you did in this one. Terence, thank you.
We had a lot of fun. I just tell you that we had a 70-piece orchestra, dude, 5 percussionists, double winds, huge brass section. It was awesome. I'll just tell you this. I don't think I've ever had that much fun scoring a film. You know, I got a chance to work with Bill Ross as an orchestrator, which was amazing. You know, it's just one of those moments in time where I felt blessed to be on the planet and having the experience I was having.
Yeah. I certainly look forward to seeing that movie. Terence, you know, you always end up working on movies that are really important and really exhilarating. You know, they always bring up so many different emotions in people. Certainly Harriet is one of those movies again. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking with you again.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Good seeing you again, bro.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much.